Okay, so I got those fully welded in and ground down, and came out pretty decent. Like I was saying, it kind of depends on how perfect you want to make it. This is going to have a bed liner over it and be used for work, so I'm probably not even going to. I ground all the welds down, but probably not going to put any filler on those edges. Probably just shoot a little primer over it, and uh, and then just put the bed coating over it. So, but if you're really wanting a nice bed, um, then you may want to grind those down smooth, put some filler in them, and but I'll tell you what, that would be a lot of work doing making an old bed floor nice. And I almost wonder if you're better if you're trying to do that, if you're better off just buying a new bed floor because you can buy that whole floor. But these came out good. Pretty happy with these patches, and we got them rust coated good underneath it, and it'll last for a long time without having any more rust problems. And I've got enough. I think I've got enough POR 15. I'm seriously thinking about just painting this whole bed with it before we do that um, bed floor on it. Because like you can see where we went through with the wire brush and knocked all the surface rust off of it. But I think that'd be a good protection. Just clean this bed floor up and just take that POR 15, do the whole floor, and then coat over that. So I think that's what I'm gonna end up doing. But anyway, that's going to be all for this video. I'm going to be working this weekend on. I'm going to put some 40 grit on the DA and knock all the filler down on it, get it close to smooth, and then take that flat air sander with some 80 grit and start going around the whole thing and get them lined out smooth. And pretty much from here on, it's just once I get through with the 80 grit on the flat sander, then it's probably time to put some sealer primer over the whll thing and 2K primer where it's going to go, and then start really look at spraying a guide coat on this and blocking it out and getting it ready to go. So pace is going good. Thanks everybody for checking in, and make sure you hit like and subscribe. I'll probably do another video this weekend when I'm done, just kind of update, show how far we got. Like I said, nothing really exciting or unusual going to be going on except a whole lot of sanding. So that's all for now. This is Saving Junk, and I'll see you on the next one. All right, so here's where we are at this thing. I got this thing spot welded in here, and I just thought I'd show kind of how I'm working these edges. It looks kind of messy now because it's kind of got some weld globs on it, but once I get this all done, I'm going to take that flapper disc and just kind of do this whole area around here, clean this up, flatten these welds out. And when you're doing stuff like this, you really got to kind of decide how perfect do I want this to be. I mean, this is going to be a work truck for Bill. We're not trying to do a total frame off restoration here. It's basically what you would call a repaint. We're not taking it down to bare metal and going all the way from there. We want to make it nice and last several years. So like this edge here, once the tailgate is on, once the bed liner is in, you're never going to see that again. If you wanted to, you could do this with flat metal, and instead of taking the time to make these ribs, and you could weld that in and grind it off and do a spray in bed liner, and probably nobody would ever notice it was there. But so it's just kind of your individual decision of how far you want to go with it and how nice do you want to make it look. So, but like these, if you look at this edge, so this comes out and this bevels down and then bevels down again, and this one comes all the way out to here and then bevels down. So what I'm doing is I'm slicing every edge and just kind of knocking these over, and then I'm going to cut this edge off even with this edge. And what you're kind of doing is you're using the weld for a filler, and then just kind of working it smooth and with the flapper wheel when you're done, and getting it as close to looking like this as you can. And like I said, once you put a bed liner over this, it's going to look good. So over here, you can kind of see I sliced all these, but I haven't banged them down yet. But like I would, this bottom one, I would work down. Like that. So now I'll put a little weld there on the bottom of that. And then I'll bend this guy over. And when it does, it's going to kind of overlap this. So I'll take my grinding wheel and slice there and line that up and knock that in. Let's see if I can get the camera down here. I'll show you that real quick. Oh, I hate this phone. Functional, but clunky. All right, so I've got that down there. Let's knock that over. You know, clean that up good. Clean that old paint off there so you get a good weld. I'm just gonna spot it. I'm not gonna full weld it right now. I'm gonna go back and fully weld everything and then grind it. So like we've got that part down and we've got that little bevel that you see here. I'm just gonna bend this guy over. And you can see when I did that overlap there. So now I'll just take my cutoff wheel and clean that up. I'll knock that off there. Work that down so it's even with this. And then we'll weld it here and we'll weld it there. There's a gap there. We'll just kind of fill that in. So that when we do grind that off, that'll look good. And it's just kind of trial and error. Like I said, if you look at the raised ribs, you know, they go back right about here. They start beveling down. So I had to cut them back. Whoo, that's hot. I had to cut them back further so that when you knock that down, so the crown of that bend is kind of consistent with these. And it's hard to make that exact shape, but you can get it close enough. And like I said, once I got this welded, I've got this reference line here. I'm just going to take my cutoff wheel and go right across there and just kind of make that line continue all across there. And that should look pretty good. So kind of do the same thing here. We'll put a couple tacks on this. That looks pretty good. Then we're going to take and knock this guy over. I'll get that off of there. Getting rid of that little overlap. Work that. Okay. And I think that's looking pretty good. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do one more little segment on this video. I'll shut this off for now. We're going to fill all this, grind it. I'll turn it back on, show you what the finished product looks like. And when I'm done with that side, I got to go back to the other side and do this end. I've just spotted it in there. I haven't done the ends yet. So back in just a few here. All right, so I got this all bent up and came out pretty good. Now, is it 100% perfect? No, it's not. You know, a couple of these, I kind of got wide at this end and narrow at this end, and that was just that was a couple things. That's I had to get some light so I could see what I'm doing. And then I was looking at my brake over here, and I noticed. So this is a cheaper Harbor Freight, and it's a a box brake. You can take these panels out to do different kinds of bends, but I noticed that right here, these two don't exactly line up. So consequently, the bending edge under there doesn't exactly line up. So when I was trying to get, the point of that bending edge on that pencil line, if I put it here and I had it overlapped onto this plate, then it kind of made that bend a little wonky. So I made sure I got everything over onto this plate. So I don't know if anybody else has these brakes. I mean, they work pretty good, and they got a roller on them. And I had just a regular box brake before, like an HVAC box brake, and I sold it and bought this so I could have a small roller. And I do like this machine better. I mean, it's not super high quality, but it's it's a Harbor Freight, and it's got a shear on the back too. So for this kind of work, it's good. I've had these before, and I kind of like them. But all right. So anyway, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my little 90-degree grinder and clean this up here. That edge is, yeah. See, I got a gap here and a gap here, and we're touching here and touching here. So I don't know if I might lay that up on there. I left myself some extra out here to trim, but if I lay that up on there and take my cutoff wheel and go across there, then I'll have a nice flat or a nice edge that meets this edge to weld to. And then when I get over here, I'll probably trim here down through both pieces, that behind there, cut that off, then I can butt weld that together. And then the ends I haven't started on yet, but so you can kind of see how this folds over here and this folds over here. So I'm probably gonna like cut there and fold that down and weld it, and the same here, go along there, and then bend these little edges over and weld them, and then take the flapper wheel and clean that up. So that's kind of it's a little tedious, but that's what I'm gonna work on for today. Try to get both these patches in and round it off. So I'll go ahead and shut this camera off, work on that, and then we'll show you some more as we go along here. Okay, I think this is working. Well, I do not like this phone. It's just got buttons in weird places, and I'm not sure what I'm doing. It looks like it's rolling. Okay, I'm assuming it's working. So I went up to the paint store to get paint, and it said on their website, "We are open on New Year's Eve." And then you get up there, and their door says, "We are closed on New Year's Eve." So they need to update their website. So made a trip for nothing. So anyway, what we're going to try to do, what I want to show how we do, what I did is do this this patch with these bed ridges in it. And so I cut this piece of metal, and I cut it a little big. So, you know, I gave myself some overlap here, and I gave myself, I think, 3 inches, 4 inches past. And I kind of guessed at that. I kind of guessed it over there too, and came out okay. And then trimmed it up when it was done. But when I measured these out, so like on this ridge from here to here is 1.5 inches, and then this bend is 1/2 inch. And you got to kind of, you know, to do it exact, you'd have to be able to calculate how much are you adding to it on these bends, which I don't know how to do that. So I'm guessing. I guessed over there, and it came out okay. So we're gonna do the same over here. But I do know that when I bent this, I would mark 1/2 inch on these bends here, and it came out pretty good. And I would mark 1.5 inches on these bends, and it came out really close. I mean, it wasn't exact, but I was happy enough with it that it's going to look good once I finish trimming the welding. Okay, so the first thing I want to do here is, if I look at this ridge and kind of line it up with this edge, it seems like this ridge cut the top of this ridge kind of hits this edge, and that's what I did over there. So I'm going to take the flatter part of here, and I'm going to mark this right there. And then I'm going to see like 1.5 inches, pretty much what I'm doing. And I'm going to go 1.5 inches here. Inch and a quarter, that's why it looks so weird. Same over here. Alright, so that's going to be my first bend. And it is not much of an angle. I don't think that's even a 45. That's less than that. So I'll show you over here. You know, I got my little break here. See if I can get this camera in there without me blocking it. Put this in there on those little marks. And I'm gonna go just, I want to get the tip of that. Ooh, need some more light over here. I don't know if anybody else is in their mid 50s, but it seems like when I hit about 52, 53, I just need so much more light to be able to work and see what I'm doing. So do this about, I think, like that. See, that's not much of a bend. Let's see if that's right or if we need to do some more. Another way to check it is I go over here to this, and it's just not quite enough, so I'm going to give it just a hair more. Not going to drag the camera back and forth, and I know what I'm doing there. You overbend it, you can bend it back, but it's nice to get it right. So kind of line that up, and that looks pretty good. Okay, so if that's my first bend like this, then I gotta flip it over, and my next bend needs to be on this side. So I already know that these are 1/2 inch. So I'm gonna take my tape measure. And I'm not gonna try to do that because then you don't get it exact. What I'm gonna do is I go to the 2-inch line and just line this up right on the crown of that bend. We'll go 1/2 inch. I'm gonna go over here. Right up. I'm gonna go 1/2 inch. Okay. Now bend this side this way, and that should give me my first flat part of the ridge and down part of the ridge. So we'll get this on the brake. Let's see what we got. About the same amount. It gets easier as you go along because you know that you want this to be, what is it, perpendicular. I don't know what the term is. You want this to be in line with this, and I kind of missed my mark a little bit. So I'm a little fatter here than there, but it's okay. You kind of correct that later. What am I doing? You see, that's pretty good. So then what I do, so I kind of line that first one up. And then I'm going to go over here to the base of this bend here. I'm going to mark that there. Okay. So then I'm going to measure this. And it is 1.25 inches and a little bit, tiny bit more, like a 1/16 more. And again, I'm not using the tip of the tape, I'm just kind of using, so I know what I'm going to do right there. I'm going to put this on the mark that I kind of missed, because I want to get this corrected. Okay. So I want this edge to go up, because I want to go down over here and up. So I'm still on the same side. And I'm going to hook a light up over here so I can see what the heck I'm doing. Jump around over here. No matter how big your garage is, it's never quite big enough. Yeah. So I scored this light. I worked in a medical office building, and a doctor moved out, and he left this. And I got kind of a small bulb in there, but man, you put a 75-watt LED in that thing, and it'll throw some light. Always good to get that free stuff. Okay. Now I can see my marks. Right on the. Like I said, try not to Try not to overbend. So let's take a look here. Now we just went just a hair over on that. So just gonna back that off a little bit. Good there, good there. That's pretty good. Yeah, just a little bit less. Doesn't take much. It's not a 45, maybe more like a 30-degree or whatever. Still a little bit off. That's better. All right, now flip over to the other side. I want to go back to, I need to do a 1/2 inch again. So right on the crown of the bend, 1/2 inch. Right. Now I want to bend this and get this part flat with that part. Is it perpendicular? Not sure on my terms. Bend it so it's right. How's that? All right. That's pretty good. So line this up to here, and I want to go down right there. And that needs to be on the other side, doesn't it? Get that mark over here. Here, check this. Put it here to check it. That's good. That's good. Nope, I'm actually going to be on there. I want them to be here. Checking in a couple of different places. That. Doing up. Bend it a little, take it out and check it. Bend it a a little, take it out, check it. Good. Okay, so that's what we got to do. I'm gonna go ahead and you probably want to see a whole bunch of bends. You got the idea. So I'll go ahead and shut the camera off for a minute. I'll finish this piece up, and then show you what I got when I'm done. Many more to go here. Got a few to go. I got 1, 2, 3 ribs here, 1, 2, 3 ribs here, and so kind of on the second one. All right, back in just a sec. Morning, everybody. So trying to adjust a little bit here. I just changed jobs, and so yesterday was my last day at my old employer, and I'm starting my new employer next week. So my phone I always made my videos with, my iPhone was a company phone, and I got to turn that in. So I got one of these temporary Walmart something or other phones to carry me through till I get my work phone from my other employer. So I've never made a video on this. Hopefully it comes out okay, and hopefully I can figure out how to get it into actual video to put on YouTube. But anyway, I got 4 days off. I'm going to try to hit the truck hard. We've really been working on it a lot the last few days. Been working a lot on the car too, so I thought I'd just kind of do an update on both. So here's a quarter panel on the car, and it is looking really good. So all the main sanding is done on this. Kind of got just a little bit of small places to fix, and I don't know if I went over exactly how he was doing this, but basically skim coated. We went over the wells with fiberglass filler, and then skim coated the whole car, the whole side of the car with lightweight filler, and then took some 40 grit on a DA, knocked it down, and then used one of these flat file sanders, that right there, put some 80 grit on it, and started smoothing this all out, and it's come out really nice. I mean, that sucker is straight, and thankfully my metal work was relatively decent. We didn't end up with a ton of filler anywhere. So a little bit thicker in some places, but you can see where it started touching and getting down to the metal. And if you look a long ways down this thing, I mean, it really came out nice. So I don't know if you can tell from that or not, but the plan is finish this up, finish up the other side. Then I'm gonna take that slick sand sprayable body filler, and we're gonna spray everything from the firewall back, and before I start working on the front end. Now, like I said, with this, been doing a lot of body work lately, so as soon as this truck is done, I think I'm going to focus on the motor for this thing, and a couple other things. Just kind of take a little break from body work and sanding. I mean, it's all got to get done, and I'm kind of excited to put this motor together and see how it comes out. I mean, this is going to be a super budget build, but I think it's going to come out pretty cool. I kind of got the idea in my head what I want. It's um, almost no hot rod parts, basically all GM stock stuff, except I got to put a cam in it, so I'll probably use get a budget price cam from Summit or Mellings or something, and use a relatively mild cam. If you're doing TBI injection, you should have I've done these before, and your duration at 50 should be below 220 to get for that TBI computer to work well, and your lobe separation angle needs to be higher, like 112, 114. So it's kind of like a mild towing cam, not as lame as what's in these originally. So I'll probably end up with, I don't know, 250 horse, 275 horse. It's not going to be a hot rod motor. It's just going to be a nice cruiser. And I want reliability. I want it, fire up every time, no cold nature problems. Um, and just something I can get in and drive and enjoy. I don't want a big lumpy, lopey idle. Um, I just want something nice and enjoyable with enough power to get around people on the highway without getting run over. So, kind of the older I get, I used to build. I kind of always use the same formula on motors on muscle cars I built over the years. Um, home port to heads, bigger cam, headers, aluminum intake, some kind of Holly 4 barrel. Or I started using quick fuel carburetors on the last couple I built like that, and tried a couple other brands carburetors. Tried some Demon carburetors, and they sound cool, and but really for me, I don't race, so it's like, what am I gonna do? Do a burnout once in a while. I kind of drive like an old grandpa in the slow lane, so why build them that way and kill your gas mileage if you're not going to make any use of it. So I'm kind of down to the cruiser mentality now. I do got this Wyand Stealth intake that I've had for a long time, and I think I'm going to go ahead and use that just as an efficiency thing, because it'll breathe much better, and I'm going to eliminate the EGR, so I'm not going to, rather than do a EGR block off plate, I'll just do a adapter plate from this to the TBI injection, and that should breathe much better than the stock TBI intake, and hopefully boost my mileage a little bit, boost my efficiency a little bit. But anyway, on the truck over here, so the other night we had a crew over here, and we got the bed sitting back on there, so almost all the metal work is done. I got a couple of patch pieces I forgot about I got to do in the bed. I'll show you that in a minute. Pulled the hood off because that's a brand new hood, so basically we're just going to Scotch Brite that thing and paint over it. I don't think we was talking to Kyle. I don't think we even have to use a sealer primer over that or maybe we do. I don't remember. But I remember we're going to Scotch Brite it, and I think he said paint it wet on wet. So like maybe a sealer and then do the paint over that. Any old metal here that's got filler on it is going to get sealer primer and then 2K primer. The bedside that I painted a couple of years ago and put on this thing when he wrecked it. We're using the exact same paint, same color. So we are just going to take some wet 400 and rough that up. So we got a good surface to adhere to and shoot right over the top of it again. Been doing a lot of sanding on this thing already. Kind of got this done. The other side is pretty much smooth. I knocked all the filler down with the 40 grit, and I'm going to take that air file and that flat file and go over everything with 80 grit just to smooth it out. And I've got my primer. It all came in. I'm going up today to pick up the paint. I want to get it down here and ready to go when we're ready for it. Bill went along there last night. We just had a lot of surface rust from this line down under here. You're not going to see that, so he took that POR 15, went all the way across there. So let me show you what I'm doing on this bed. We had a couple of bad spots back here, like right there, and then the same on the other side. So I took this and bent that piece, made that little piece to kind of line up with the bed ridges, and it came out pretty good. Old Fitzy from Fitzy's Fabrications, I kind of watched him do that on one of his videos, and did it how he did it with my little brake over there, and it came out nice. Hopefully, this other one will come out better. That side's going to be that piece got to be a little bit bigger. So then we had some wire brush the whole bed, and you saw we did the POR 15 on the bottom. So took the heavy wire brush and wire brushing the inside of the bed, and for the most part, it was in pretty good shape. Now there was a couple of spots where, like there's a brace goes under here, and there's a brace go under here, and I don't. It was like where the welds on the brace were, I guess. But they're just little pinholes, and you hit it with that wire brush, and the metal was, it wasn't like wasted, like you could push it all the way through, but it just had some pinholes in it. So I mixed up that all metal filler and sprayed those spots with that rust neutralizer, let it dry, and then use this all metal filler on it. And then this is going to get a bed spray in or brush in bed liner of some kind. So I've been using that stuff for years, like to fix things like this. If you got a little area in your trunk floor that's got pinholes in it, this is a good way to fix it if you don't want to cut all that out and redo it. I got a spot over on the 61 on the like the top of the trunk lip that's got a few like little pinholes. I think I'm going to fix it that way instead of cutting that out. And the trick is to be able to get at both sides of it. Wire brush it off real good. Like the bottom side, I'll hit with that POR 15. The top side, I'll put the rust neutralizer on it, let all that dry, and then put this filler over it and sand it down, and then paint over it. And as long as you get it sealed, you get that adhered good, get it sealed up good to where air can't get to it. Then that rust, I've had cars I did that 2 years ago that are still looking pretty good now. And it's good for like your window channel if you've got your windshield or your back window, the channel gets pits in there, to brush that off. And this is a budget way to fix it that seems to last pretty good as long as you do a good job of sealing it up and making sure that air can't get to that rust. Because if air can't get to the air can't get to the rust, then the rust stops. And like I said, you need to treat it with something. All right, so today I got to run up to the paint store in town, and I'm going to pick up the paint for this truck. And so today's Friday. I got Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday off. Start my new job on Tuesday. Wife and I don't have a lot of plans. She's had a pretty bad cold, so I think we're just going to kind of hang around, do a few things. I got to do a little shopping, but really try to get a lot done on this thing. So, like I've said a bunch of times, I'm really shooting for that end of the month to into January to roll this thing out and have it back to Bill and kind of get back to the Chevy and get going on some other things I want to get going on. All right, so that's I'll go ahead and stop this portion for now. We'll go get that paint, and for the rest of this video, I know you probably don't want to see a bunch of sanding, but I'll show how we do that. I'll show how we do that flat sander, and maybe we'll show some how we make this. I know Fitzy's video is pretty good, but I'll take a shot at showing how I do it, and like I said, I think it came out pretty good. So, okay, that's it for this section.